Yo guys, how's it going? It's Arknade here, back with another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to sidechain with a plugin called Volumeshaper 6. Before we get into the video, make sure to check out my Patreon, which is on the screen right now. There's various things you can sign up to, such as the download to this FL template, as well as monthly exclusive tracks from myself and feedback on your own productions. Also, make sure to check out my Spotify, which you can see on the screen. Let's get into the video. So to get started, what I've done is I've just dragged in some stems from an old track of mine. It's called Ravers, and you can listen to it on Spotify. So I've just got the kick from it, the clap, the hat, the main bass, the main sub, and then I've stemmed out the vocals, instrument, and FX all into one stem each. And we're just going to now assign them to the mixer channel. So I've dragged them in onto the playlist, which in turn have put them onto the channel rack, and I've just put them in order on the channel rack, which in turn then need to go to the mixer channel, which then go to the buses, which then come out to the master, which we can hear. So I've got my kick here, and then the kick here on the channel rack, and I'm just going to assign that to mixer 1 here. And I'm just going to repeat that for all the elements. So the clap is going to go to the clap area, the hat is going to go to the hat area, the main bass is going to go to bass 1, the sub bass is going to go to sub 1, and the vocal to vocal 1, instrument to instrument 1, and the FX to FX 1. And now all of these will in turn send to their various buses, which in turn will send to the master channel. What we're going to look at is sidechain. So Volumeshaper 6 is my go-to plugin for all sidechain. And what we're going to do is, to start with, we're going to sidechain the kick and the bass and the sub to make sure the kick comes nicely through the mix and isn't tampered by the sounds of the bass and the sub. So let's just play it right now, completely unsidechained.
Yo, my DJ live on deck. We bring the vibe in check.
So you can see the kick isn't really pushing through the mix at all. The bass and the sub completely overpower it. So what we're going to do is go to the mixer channel, and we want to find where our bass are. So we've assigned the main bass to track 21. And what we want to do is we want to add Volumeshaper to one of the channels. So I tend to add it to channel 9. So I have all my post-processing plugins up to 8, and then I'll have my Volumeshaper and channel 9, and then I'll have, say, like a Pro L limiter on the last channel, or a G clip. So let's just go ahead and add Volumeshaper. So when we first open it, it's going to look something like this. And our aim is to sidechain in a multiband fashion the bass sounds and the sub sounds in order to get the kick sounding as good as possible. We want this only to work when there is a kick hitting. It is every 4 bars, but sometimes it may not be. So here, there's a kick missing, for example, so we don't want the sidechain to work there. In order to do this, we want to assign a Midi to it, so that when the Midi is clicking, we can match that up to the kick, and then it will only sidechain in that fashion. So what we want to do first is open a Midi out. So you click this plus sign, click Midi out, and then it comes up with this display here. And we're just going to assign this to port 1. And that's all you need to do. You can close this now. Let's just bring this back, and we're just going to make this pink. So now that's pink, let's go to our sidechain area. So we're going to add a pattern 1 here, and we're going to rename this, and we're going to call it sidechain. And we can make that pink as well. So now we've added that, we want the sidechain to hit when the kick hits. So I'm going to do it for 4 bars. So we're just going to go to the channel rack now and drag this out. Yeah, so we want to go this far, and we're just going to right click, fill each 4 steps. There we go. And now if we go back to the playlist, we can see that we've got a sidechain MIDI hitting whenever there's a kick. So there's one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. And it's sending to port 1. So now we need to link this MIDI to the actual plugin in order for it to work hand in hand. So let's go back to Shapeboxer. And let's go to the settings of Shapeboxer. And then we want to go to the settings here. We want to go to input port and select option 1. Now they're linked. Now we want to go back to Shapeboxer and want to make sure the MIDI trigger is set to on one shot as well. So now that the MIDI trigger is set to 1 shot, let's adjust the LFO mode. So let's pick Hertz. So every MIDI shot we can assign a speed to it. So every time it hits, that's how long it will take effect for. And I'm going to leave it at 2.02 here because that's a good range for this track. But you can adjust that to how you feel sounds best on your track. Now, before we get into the actual sidechain on here, there's just one more bit to do. And that is to make sure that the sidechain is turned off when you're not using it. So if we go back into our instrument here, and we're just going to hold Control and drag across here to bring up the 4 bars. And then we're going to right click on Shapebox 2 here, create an automation clip. And we're just going to turn this on when we're using it. And then when we're not using it, it will be turned off. So I'll come back to that later on when we've got some sidechain going so you can hear it. So let's get into the sidechain. So I've just added a really awful sidechain so you can hear what it sounds like. And then you'll hear that once it goes to this next section, all of this will be turned off. So the sidechain is only active when these notes are pressed in on the MIDI and when the automation is turned on. So I'll just play that for you now. So hopefully you can hear the difference there. And if you can't, just play it a couple of times and allow your ears to get used to it. So now that the sidechain system is set up, let's go through adding the actual sidechain. So we're actually going to multiband sidechain the main bass, and we can do this from the top here. So if we drag this across, it reveals the low band. So we're just going to pull this across just over halfway. And then we're going to grab the high band and drag this across too. And then we've essentially got 3 different bands that we can edit. So let's start with the highs. We're going to listen to the track and then we're going to edit the highs how we want it to sound. So I'm going to select sidechain 1. And then I'm just going to edit these little symbols here. And one thing to note is if you accidentally place one, like here, you can double click on it to remove it. Just a heads up. Right. So let's listen and adjust. Right, so that's fine for now. And then we'll go to the mids and do the same, sidechain 1. And then we'll go to the bass. Now you may be thinking there's no bass in the main bass because you've got a sub bass for that. But this is just to get rid of any straggling bass sounds. So we're just going to add this around here. Now I've just fiddled around with that a bit. I've got it how I want it to sound. And that's that done. So this is that one done. And now we want to also sidechain the sub bass, just to get rid of any of discrepancies there. I'm going to click at the bottom here on this little arrow on the shape box on bass 1. And I'm going to, where it says save preset here, I'm going to just click and drag it onto sub bass 1, and that's going to create exactly the same file that was on bass 1 on the sub bass. And then I'm just going to do the exact same thing again, but drag it into slot 9 and then delete the one on slot 1. So now we've got this here. We want to just focus on the sidechain of the sub bass. So obviously there are not going to be any highs in the sub, so we can get rid of that. And we'll just push up the low mids a fair distance, and then we've just got the bass to sort. So we're just going to listen again and do the sub. So I'm fairly happy with that. And that is the sidechain complete on the kick. So now we can just listen to how it sounds without or with. So if we just drag this out and drag this out. So this is what it sounds like without any sidechain. This is what it sounds like with sidechain. So now what we can do is just drag this across and replicate it for the entirety of the bass in the drop. So to finish, I recommend using this type of sidechain for all your kicks, because I believe it is the best and it gets the best sounding results. And there's a lot of various things you can do. Like there's so much potential different sorts of sidechain you could do. You can edit it so precisely that it means you can do some cool things with the bass. So for example, I could have the sidechain coming all the way over here, which gives it a lot more groove and rhythm on the bass sounds. Or you could make it shorter and just things like that. It all depends on the mix down you're doing and what kind of tune you're making. And I'd recommend, if you wanted to then sidechain your clap or your hat or anything else, then you use the method that was used in the previous video, because you're going to get a lot of interfering Midi and things if you use this method for sidechaining every aspect of the drums, and it's going to get a bit complicated. I just use it as a base level for the kick drum. But obviously, feel free to do whatever you want. If you want to try sidechaining the clap and sidechain down the hat and it goes well, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.